Welcome to another installment of This or That. In this series, I pit two movies against each other, see which of them is more popular among audiences, and force my journalist colleagues to reveal whether they agree with public opinion or not. I am Jeanette. I'm an entertainment journalist and critic, and this is my friend Nick, also an entertainment journalist and critic. Nick.
Hi, I'm back. You know that movie with Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin where the mom has to pick the two kids on the cliff, except one of them's like awful? Well, I feel like that right now, except both of my kids are great.
Yeah. No, the good son metaphor is apt because today we are talking about Jaws and Jurassic Park, 1993. No. Two really good Steven Spielberg movies that, I mean, Nick said it best. They're impossible to choose between, but I've collected data and audiences have kind of picked a favorite. So yeah, this one was really, really close. So Jaws only ranked higher on Rotten Tomatoes for critical and audience reception, which I was like kind of surprised. It scored lower than Jurassic Park on IMDb and also on Letterboxd. It beat out Jurassic Park for box office, which I didn't just for inflation because we're looking at almost 2 decades apart here. This movie made, over $1 billion, which is pretty great. And so it's tough because technically by the metrics I've been using, which are rudimentary, in another scenario, I would give it to Jurassic Park because it ranked higher in more categories. But because Jaws' box office is so great and beats out Jurassic Park, and just with the context of Jaws, like literally changing cinema as we know it, with the summer blockbuster, I'm gonna give it to Jaws. I mean, that movie brought in people. It put butts in seats and traumatized an entire generation of people. So for the sake of this episode, I'm declaring the audience pick as Jaws.
Okay. Is it my turn now?
I guess it can be your turn. Do you agree with that? I know this is going to be hard for you.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's all, you gotta have context, right? And I wouldn't do what I love to do if I didn't like telling a story. So I will say that when I was little, Jurassic Park was one of the earliest memories I have for a movie. Maybe right next to it, Godzilla and Spawn and George of the Jungle. So like Jurassic Park has always been there, and I wouldn't love many of the things I love now if it wasn't for Jurassic Park. Like to this day, I still feel like I would be Dr. Grant in any situation like that because that's my dude. I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was like 5. So my dad said that doesn't make money, and now I don't know what to do with my life. So there's that. But also Jaws kind of just snuck up when I was, my goodness, still a kid. I wasn't one of those like college awakenings, like, oh my God, cinema. No. I was a kid, and I always loved movies where animals ate people because I wasn't right. And Anaconda is another example of that. So I remember I saw Jaws 2 before I saw Jaws, and then I got Jaws on VHS, and I watched the hell out of that, back, left, right, front, and center. And it has been my favorite movie of all time since then. Jurassic Park has been like my number 2 favorite movie of all time, I think. Yeah, it has to be number 2 because The Crow is a good number 3. Anyways, I feel like I have to lean Jaws because I absolutely adore Jaws. I went to the exhibit this past fall in California, and I checked out everything there. It was sick. I mean, I saw that movie in IMAX, and I found things I hadn't seen before. And even though I've seen this movie a bajillion times, I mean, I feel like, this is why I wanted to talk it out before even thinking about it. I think I lean Jaws because that movie is such a genuinely good movie, and it takes a genre where movies can sometimes get away with being mediocre and be really good. Like you're picking up things like for example, Quint's like, I'm never gonna wear a life vest again after the Indianapolis, and there he goes when the ship's sinking, handing everyone but himself a life vest. And you can kind of like see all of these little like character moments, like these little micro inflections that may or may not mean something. And it's just a lot you can pick up with the movie. Not to say Jurassic Park doesn't have that, but you could argue you wouldn't have Jurassic Park without Jaws. So I guess I have to go with the crowd and pick my favorite fish.
Okay. I mean, very jealous of your Jaws IMAX experience, by the way. That's very cool.
Yeah, we sat with the old lady who definitely has seen Jaws a million times, and she was posted up next to us. Her legs were crossed, and had her popcorn. She was ready to go.
Aw.
And it made the experience so much better. And then there was a family behind us with kids. I'm pretty sure saw it for the first time. Like it was one of the coolest theater experience I ever
Yeah.
had.
No, that's very cool because I feel like it definitely can impact how you look at a movie when you see it on the big screen, for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah, difficult to decide when you have that experience. But yeah, again, like Nick, this is extremely hard decision for me because when I think of perfect movies, I always think of, for some reason, Back to the Future, Silence of the Lambs, and Jaws. And
Fair.
interestingly, I don't always put Jurassic Park in that category. I don't know. I have some issues with the ending of that movie, but
Interesting.
yeah, but I feel like I'm legally obligated to pick Jurassic Park, legally obligated to pick Jurassic Park because I can quote like 85 to 90% of that movie.
That's
But
fair.
you know, but aside from that, I genuinely think that Jurassic Park has better special effects, a great story, and just an unmatchable presence. I would argue that there's been some really solid shark movies post Jaws. However, you can't really say the same in the dinosaur category. Like, I feel like nothing has matched Jurassic Park, including the movies in its own franchise.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like, for that reason, I feel like Jurassic Park has just been untoppable. And I agree with you that it probably wouldn't, well, it definitely wouldn't have existed if Jaws didn't do what it did, considering the Spielberg of it all. But yeah, there's just something unmatchable about it. And I think just like Jaws, I mean, I think Spielberg in general is sort of a master of showing and not telling you. There's so many little micro expressions among the characters, little secret things that come back later, as you were talking about with Quint. And I think that all applies to Jurassic Park as well.
Definitely. And plus, you know, watching that movie again on VHS when I was a kid, and those random moments that just seem so like a fever dream. Like, for example, the beginning when the Velociraptor lifts up the guy and he's pulling him into the cage. My dumb little kid brain didn't put together what was actually happening, but my smart grown-up brain was like, holy crap, that Velociraptor picked up a full-grown man. And like those things hit. And then, you know, when he's looking up in the grating, he's got like the DNA all over its face, got the letters and stuff. It's just, man, Jurassic Park is really good. I love Jurassic Park. The quotes are so good. I'm not changing my vote because I already said what I said and I have to stick with it. But man, it's still the toughest thing. I literally have a Lego set of the Jaws boat and the T-Rex breakout right in front of me over here. So life is tough.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of similarities between how I think Spielberg shot Jaws and Jurassic Park to a point. Like, I would argue in Jurassic Park that it's got that similar suspenseful buildup. So they show up at the park, and you obviously get that opening scene where you don't actually see the dinosaur.
Yeah.
You don't actually see any of the carnivore dinosaurs until later in the movie. You see the baby Velociraptor. But you know, it's a baby. And so I think he does a really good job of kind of building to that climax. And you know, even the raptor feeding scene, you just see the moving bushes and you're like, whoa, like what's in there? And then I love that when they go past the T-Rex cage initially, you don't see anything, because that is probably what would happen in a real park. And I think it adds this other layer of commentary about, like, you know, keeping animals in captivity, how we draw them out to entertain people. And then when we come back to that scene later, he still does a kind of a slow build to the T-Rex where we get the like dung, dung, the water, and then we get the goat leg, and then you see the T-Rex, but then you have that really great moment of like the fence, like dung, dung, dung. Like,
I love the snaps. Yeah.
And you're like, what? Like this, and then he's there. And then, you know, oh, well, excuse me.
Yeah, get it right. Rexy, put some respect on the name there.
Oh no, how dare I? So she's there, and you know, she goes right up to that car and is curious. And so, you know, I in some ways it's a lot similar to how he builds up the suspense in Jaws, where we're not seeing the shark for so much of the movie, and he's using music to build that terror and some unique camera angle shots, which are really great.
Yeah, shout out John Williams too, because And that shot too with the T-Rex little thingies, and they're kind of like hanging on the wire. Oh man,
Mhm.
that's such a, you see, I think that's the thing, is Jaws is kind of like the Optimus Prime of movies. It is such a fantastic movie that you can talk a lot about it, but also enough said. But Jurassic Park, I don't know what it is. There is a lot that you can kind of just like not nitpick, but just kind of like it's like an onion, you know? It's got all these layers that are maybe easier to dissect. I mean, like that's the thing. I love Jaws to death, but I could talk someone's ear off about Jurassic Park for hours. I don't know why, because I love them both.
Well, I think Jaws is like, in my opinion, Jaws is a much more of a slow burn. You know, you get that really great opening with the skinny dipping girl, and then it's a lot of like small town politics and commentary on greed, and that mayor wearing that anchor suit, like doing his
Peak fashion.
monologuing and yeah, and it's not really, I think, until the second half of that movie when we have like our main trio on the boat that you
Yes.
really like lock into the action. But I would argue you really need that beginning part of Jaws to build those characters. It is more of like a character-driven story in a way, whereas I think Jurassic Park definitely has great characters and a lot of commentary, but I think it's a bit more action forward.
Yeah, and the themes are very, very much the star of the show in that movie too. Like from the first second, it's immediately you're like, oh, okay, that's makes sense. But yeah, man, this episode's brutal. I'm still not changing my vote, but man, oh man, I if the viewers walk out of this one and they're like, what the hell did he pick? Listen, I said what I said, but I can't make it easy on myself.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you. I think Jurassic Park, I can't even say their names right. It's definitely more forward in its themes. Like they're like, in case you missed it, you know, we're playing God, and you know, the great like Laura Dern, Ian Malcolm exchange there, or Dr. Sandler and Ian Malcolm. I don't know why I'm using an actor name and a character name, but
I do that a lot. It's fine.
you know what I mean? They're a great little exchange there about, you know, man creates dinosaur, dinosaur eats man, you know, women inherit the earth. There's so much of that type of commentary that it's hard to miss. But then I think Spielberg couples it with these shots that are really like symbolic. Like the one I always think about is after Nidri steals the Barbasol can and he has, you know, meets his fate in the car there with the, you know, spitting dinosaur. They show the Barbasol can roll out and it just like lands in that mud and the mud's like covering it. And Spielberg really makes sure to track that shot and like zoom in on it. And every time it hits me where I'm like, man, like that just solidifies that this was all for nothing. Like he endangered innocent people, you know, all for money, all for greed. And here this can is just in the middle of nowhere. No one will find it. And it's just in the dirt and he's dead. And that's the end. And it's just it's a small shot, but it has such impactfulness behind it that every time I see it, I'm like, man, that's a good shot. And it's really like nothing in the larger scope of things.
It's time, you know, time takes everything over. But if you would like, I can spoil the fate of the Barbasol can, because as you know me, I have a habitual need to get all the content for one thing I like. So if you want to know what happens with the Barbasol can, I can tell you right now.
You can if you'd like. I do know, as I was saying it in my head, that it comes back, right? Because it comes back in like the supplementary material, not in.
So if you watch Dominion, it's in the background of the Biosyn facility. What's his face? Dodgson has the can. But if you watch the Jurassic World, I think it's season 3 or 4 of Camp Cretaceous, Dodgson shows up and he just finds the can. It's just kind of like there. And he's like, oh, rock and roll, which is why all of the further things happen in the later movies. I mean, I like when they do that because it's a franchise and I accept it's a franchise. But in terms of the impact of the first movie, it definitely hinders it. But, you know, my brain is like a switch. It's like, oh, now I don't like it. Now I like it, whatever. But the first movie, the impact of that can being left there, I think it's, to like build on what you said, I like the idea that all of that science and technology in this seemingly, you know, just regular shaving cream can is still just buried in nature. Like no matter what, nature is undefeated.
Yeah, no, totally. And I love that scene. I also will say, I mean, I'm a big fan of Muldoon's character in Jurassic Park. It's funny because when I was young, I was like, dinosaurs, dinosaurs, dinosaurs. And now that I'm older, it's like, I'm like, oh, the shaving cream can and Muldoon are my favorite parts of Jurassic Park. Like, who would think it? But I really love his character because he's like the one dude there. I mean, aside from the scientists, because they come in with that skepticism, right? Especially like Dr. Alan Grant, who's like, whoa, this is a bad idea. But, you know, for the people that are there and employed there, Muldoon's like the one guy that's like, yeah, they like when the first time, well, not the first time you meet him, because you meet him in the very beginning of the movie, but when we meet him at the raptor cage, like our protagonists meet him and he's like, yeah, he says something like, these things should
all be destroyed.
Yeah. And you're like, whoa, like, and I think he's such an interesting character because I think of like Chris Pratt's Owen Grady later. They are like opposites.
Yeah.
I think they hate each other because I think Muldoon, he is very much that like hunting tracker, Crocodile Dundee, but not silly archetype. And he does respect them. He knows that what side of the food chain he is on. And I think his hunt scene, like, you know, when he's out there and she's like, we can make it if we run. And he's like, no, we can't. No, we can't. And even his death, you know, the famous clever girl scene, it's like, there's almost this like little, like, he's like, well played kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's really cool. Whereas Owen Grady, when I first saw that character, I was just like, you know, I don't like this. And it felt a bit too dog trainery. I get it's probably fun. Like if I was a kid, it'd be really cool, but it almost felt like his fate should be getting killed by the raptors. Like, I know that sounds harsh.
Fair.
But it kind of feels like that would be the real message of Jurassic Park, and Jurassic World kind of has gone in this like different direction with it.
Jurassic World asks a lot of audiences, like from nature versus nurture to because I've always been the type that gets geeked out. If someone was like, we're making dinosaurs real, I wish I could say I'd be the one who's like, that's wrong, but I'd be like, yo, show me the raptor though. So I see where everyone's coming from, knowing full well I love Owen Grady's job. Would I want it? Probably not. Would I want to work with dinosaurs in general? Absolutely. That said, I like the idea that he kind of like Muldoon looks at the raptors as any normal person would, of like, you know, you gotta get rid of these creatures because A, they shouldn't exist, and B, they're incredibly intelligent and they just don't know what they're doing. But the checks are clearing, so I'm gonna stay. And then Owen Grady's like actually got this like desire and want to take care of these animals to the point where he's like, I want them to imprint on me and I want to see how far they'll respect me. And I think that's interesting. However, I think Muldoon is the more realistic, and I love the idea that he probably knew he was going to die when he let Sattler go and do her thing, but I didn't. I think what kind of makes the clever girl line better is probably knew he was going to die, but he didn't know he was going to die like that, which seemed funnier because the exact hunting pattern that they used on him is the one that Dr. Grant described to the kid at the beginning of the movie. So even Muldoon didn't understand the raptors fully, but Grant did because that was his like speciality. So I'm like, I don't know. Those things really hit because he was like, they're not going to come at you head on. They're going to come at the sides. And Muldoon, we didn't expect that.
Yeah, no, it's really great. And I mean, I also love the scene where he runs from the T-Rex. You know, when they're Ian Malcolm and Dr. Sattler in the car and the T-Rex is running at him, and Muldoon gives that little look after they get away to the like side view camera. He kind of looks back and it's this like excited micro expression look where he's like thrilled by the hunt. Like he's like, yeah, I beat them. Like I think his character is just so interesting and so nuanced. And it would have been, I mean, I think he died perfectly. It would have been interesting to see him stick around in some capacity for a little bit more time. At least
his hat. I want his hat so bad. I've always told my fiance, I'm like, I want a hat that clips on the sides. I have no reason for it. I just think it looks so cool.
It's really cool. I mean, there's little issues I take with it. Like even, you know, when he's getting devoured by that one raptor and the other raptor's just like chilling there. I'm like, I guess we don't know. I'm like, but wouldn't like she like also jump in on the feast? But you think.
Unless
so I think that's my
she's waiting.
Huh?
Unless the one that was eating was the alpha and she was just waiting for her turn. Who knows? I wish I knew.
That is true. I think I can get a little picky sometimes with Jurassic Park, and that brings me to like what I said earlier with like I'm not a huge fan of the ending just because I just feel like it's such a good movie, and then they use that sort of like
the hero moment.
Cop-out ending. Yeah, the T-Rex just shows up. I wanted kind of Dr. Grant to think his way out of it, or kind of bring back, like you were talking about, he's got all this knowledge, and I would have loved to see him like apply it a bit more. And instead they're just like, oh, the T-Rex comes and it helps. And when you look at the door behind the T-Rex, like that thing would have had a crouch to like.
Who's to say it didn't? Who's to say
right.
it wasn't using its little arms and like getting through and it's like, oh, excuse me. And the raptors were too caught up on, you know, who knows? Everyone just didn't notice a giant T-Rex trying to squeeze through.
Yeah, that's always the part. I think that's kind of like that whole sequence right before then too, when they get the kids after the kitchen and, you know, they're in that room and she's hacking into the mainframe. Like that's kind of where I knock off points. It's hilarious, but whereas I think like Jaws, I think that's where Jaws excels, is I think Jaws has the stronger ending, all like from front to back. It's just like a stronger narrative all the way through.
Totally. Not Jurassic. See, I'm doing it too. Jaws' ending is I think the difference is that where Jurassic Park was so theme heavy, Jaws actually sets up its ending. It knows how it's going to end. It's just, instead of the shark drowning, it's blowing up. And, you know, he's like, if you mess around with these things, are going to blow up. And sure enough, Brody, the one guy who had no business being there, aka me in that situation, just throws that thing in his mouth. And it's just, you know, it's all set up perfectly. And the tension is built. That movie just lives off of tension and payoff. And I still love that. I think it's so cool. You know, you can really breathe a sigh of relief. Like the waters even feel safer watching it. You're like, oh, like it's still the ocean. It's still the Atlantic. But like now that shark's blown up, it's like, okay, let's paddle back and we're fine. And even though that might not be true, it sure feels like it. And I think that says a lot about the movie and just how well it's done, how you can, you know, but then of course, you know, those actors were all just so fantastic. You can still get reeled into Quinn's speech even now. Like it's so fun. And it's funny watching with my fiance, who didn't watch it as much as me before I met her. And now she's a fan. And she's even gone from the first couple of viewings of what did Quinn say to, oh, that's what he said. So like, it's just, it's so fun watching all of that unfold, and hearing his story with the Indianapolis is so good. And just, oh, I love that movie. That's such a good movie. It's such a tightly done, just,
No, it is really good. And I mean, poor Quint, like, I can't decide if I'm still mourning Boromir or if I'm mourning Quint, because really those are like the two that like really hit me. And Quint's death in particular, like, I mean, I guess you could argue the same about Boromir, but it's like a trilogy, so it feels like a larger story. But Quint, they hit you like right at the end. It's really close to the end that he goes. And so you're like, oh, man, like,
yeah,
it's brutal.
Boromir, he died a hero, right? He knew what he was doing. He knew he probably wouldn't make it, but he knew the right thing to do for his soul and for the Fellowship. Hooper just inadvertently killed Quint. Like, and that poor man, like, not only did those freaking air tanks roll over his fingers, but he got eaten by the one thing he had a genuine fear of. That man probably went through so much PTSD as he's getting eaten. That's a dude who did not want to die. And I think for me, Boromir's death is more emotional, because I mean, that's a whole other conversation where I just think Boromir might be the best character in the Lord of the Rings. But Quint's death is just like, that one just hurts, because that's a guy who didn't deserve to die. He didn't want to die, and he died facing down the one thing that traumatized him, and the reason why he kept killing them for so long. You could argue it was poetic because he killed so many sharks, but I don't. I think that he just, man, he thought he could do it. He needed a bigger boat.
He did need a bigger boat. So I guess I'm tempted to ask, I mean, I already feel like I know your answer. Like if I ask you to consider the larger franchises, well, maybe not actually. Would that change your answer? Because I know you do love those. You'd pick Jurassic Park.
100% change my answer, because I like Jaws 2. I think Jaws 2 is the perfect mid sequel to a story. Like, I can believe a great white showing up again. I can believe that. I'll let it slide, because if it can happen once. Jaws 3, I mean, that's just dumb fun. Yeah, it's not good, but it's dumb fun. And Jaws the Revenge is just straight trash. I'm still not over the way they did Sean. I hate that movie. I watched it and I was like, that shark's roaring. This movie's I tried to like it when I was a kid too. I really did. Bad Dream sequence shark attack? Get the hell out of here with that. No way, man. Come on. But Jurassic, I don't know. Everyone's gonna find out my secret. The Lost World's my favorite Jurassic Park movie.
But you're wrong, because it's Jurassic Park 3 is the better sequel.
Wow, and I thought I was divisive. Okay. Okay.
We'll have
All
to have
right.
this and that on Jurassic Park 2 and 3.
Let's
Because
do it.
I will pick Jurassic Park 3 all day.
Okay, all right. But I can see your point though, because Grant's in that
Mhm.
the whole time, so fair. But I do like the Jurassic movies. I think even the weakest of the bunch has something worthwhile. I think in Jurassic World, as dumb as it was to have a cloned human in the story, it is somewhere the franchise needed to go, because eventually it was going to happen, because the story's never been about dinosaurs. It's been about genetic power. So even at its worst, I still appreciate it. And I really like the latest one. So although I will say the ending for that one, man, I wanted more of that weird monster dinosaur thing. But anyways, my answer would definitely be Jurassic if we're factoring in the franchise. Jaws is great. Everything else is there. Jurassic's great. And I enjoy the other ones a lot more.
No, that's valid. I mean, I also like Jaws 2 a lot, and Jaws 3 is fun too. But yeah, I'm sticking with Jurassic. But I guess to close it off, this is a new thing I've been doing with people.
Okay,
Is
let's do it.
if you were going to plead your case to have someone watch Jaws, because that's your original answer, Jaws over Jurassic Park, what is the scene or the thing that you're selling them on?
That's a good question, because people are so different. And
Mhm.
I feel like if I wanted to talk to like a cinema person, then I would direct them towards Quint's speech. Or like maybe the scene of Brody looking out under the ocean after his son almost dies. But if I was going to talk to the average moviegoer or people like us, I would say literally the shark attack sequence when Michael's on the boat. Like just that whole sequence, just watch that, because there's nothing, even I'm talking about getting chills, there's nothing more chilling than the shot of that shark eating the guy in the dinghy, and you just see the side of his mouth, and then as he disappears, the guy falls. I don't even need to see the leg.
Yeah.
That was scary enough for me. So I would say that one sequence where everything seems fine and it's not, and the tension's there, and oh, these kids have a fin, but that's not the shark. And then there's one girl who sees it. No one listens except for Brody and Ellen. And then you see him run over, and it's just like everyone, like the people who need to know what's going on know, but everyone else doesn't even know what's about to pop off. So I would pick that scene in particular, that sequence right before they get on the ship and head.
Yeah, and the shark looks really great there. I mean, I know I said it earlier that Jurassic Park has better special effects, which I stand by, but I still think Jaws looks amazing. I know
Best
people.
shark of the four of them, best looking shark.
Yeah, I agree. The only time it looks, you can kind of tell, is when it comes on the boat and starts eating Quint. You're like, oh yeah, I can tell. But even still, it's I would cry even being in the water with the mechanical shark. Never mind. Like,
remember that.
Yeah, it looks really good. And I think that scene you pointed out, the dinghy scene, is a great example of that, where it's like hidden just enough, but they show, it's really, really well done, and masterclass in suspense. And I mean, yeah, I guess if I was going to tell people to watch Jurassic Park, it would be for the T-Rex scene. I mean, I think that's the best scene in the movie. And it's interestingly not the climax, but in some ways it feels like it is. It's our first big introduction to the dinosaur. But I love everything about that scene, with the way, it comes in through the glass, and there's just that little thin piece of glass separating them from this like other. I mean, it's not otherworldly, but it feels otherworldly, because you would never expect to be in a situation where you're like,
seriously,
tiny thin piece of glass between you and a prehistoric. I love it. I love when Dr. Alan Grant gets out with the flare. I love when Ian Malcolm stupidly gets out with another flare.
Starts running with the flare.
Starts running with a flare, with his shirt, like his chest out. It's great. And yeah, also I'm a huge Dr. Alan Grant fan, Sam Neill fan. So just watch for Sam Neill.
Absolutely, Screen King right there. He's the best. Watch anything with Sam Neill, and that's all you got to say. Just watch anything with Sam Neill, and if they're smart, just say, okay.
That is true. I just watched In the Mouth of Madness for the first time, like front to back.
Not bad.
I was so surprised how much I don't want to go on a tangent, but I was so surprised how much I love that movie, because it's not like my usual type of horror, but I was like, oh, I'm like locked in. I loved it.
Great cosmic horror. I watched that one last year for the first time, and I was like, oh, well, Sam Neill,
I love him. Yeah, and he is quite the horror like legend a little bit. He's got a good amount of genre movies under his belt. So
yeah, if you want to put on a good movie, people out there, a great Sam Neill joint that will really get the people going during a great Halloween party, just put on Possession. Just put it on with the highest volume and tell everyone, hey, you don't have to watch it all, but just, you'll know when to watch. And I promise you, everyone, it's the best horror movie to watch for a group of people that kind of like horror.
Yeah, it's true. Nonstop yelling, really, from the moment that movie is on screen. It's just crying and yelling for,
Oh, yeah. You want to watch some great stuff, watch Possession. I'm telling you, it's fine. It's almost like watching a Friday movie. Almost.
Well, is there anything that you want to plug, Nick?
Yeah, I suppose there is. For sure. You can check me out at cbr.com. Just, I don't know, look at the authors and then type my name in, or don't, or I'm there. Never mind. That was a bad one. You can edit this part out. I don't want to talk about my job. I got distracted.
Start again and he'll edit it.
So you can find me at my Instagram, which is n.brooks94, and there should be a link to my podcast / YouTube called Pop Sub Club, where I do interviews and retrospectives. It's been a minute since I've done them because I've been busy, but I do a lot of them on there. And then of course my Instagram's I've always got something going on my Instagram, so you can check that out too. And I think that's everything. And if there was something I missed, just go to the last episodes where I was at and get the engagement up and find it there.
Solid. So just to recap, the more popular movie according to audiences is Jaws. Do Nick and I agree? No, he chose Jaws. I chose Jurassic Park. But you know what? Nobody is right. Nobody is wrong. It's just movies. And we will catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye, everyone.